the infected blood scandal and the 30,000 or so people who were infected with HIV or hepatitis, or all of the above, has been discussed in this House many times. But the numbers, the sheer scale of the scandal are still hard to comprehend. The Honourable Member for Eltham and Chislehurst laid out the background compellingly to start this debate, and I congratulate him on securing it. And others have spoken of perhaps the most horrifying element. Children were subject to unsafe and unethical clinical testing in the 1970s and 80s. This testing, this experimentation, continued for more than 15 years. It involved hundreds of people and infected most with hepatitis B, hepatitis C and HIV. The trials involved children with blood clotting disorders when families had often not consented to them taking part, and the majority of those children who were experimented on are now dead. It's not just those who were infected, of course. The number of those affected by the scandal are far higher. And while we welcome the steps the government has taken in progressing the compensation scheme, it's clear that the job is not yet done. The changes the government has brought in will mean more compensation for those who've been impacted by the infected blood scandal. Payments being sent out to victims as part of the wider £11 billion plus allocated by the government in the 2024 budget to compensate victims. But in the last 2 months to June, just 217 people have received compensation payments, and at that rate, far too many of the victims will not receive their compensation by the 2029 deadline. The pace must increase, a point that's been well made in this debate by the Honourable Ladies from both Llanelli and Newport East, as well as others. The Liberal Democrats welcome the improvements to the scheme that the government set out earlier this year. These changes will hopefully deliver some of the justice that victims have been calling out for, but there is clearly a strength of feeling that this scheme still does not go far enough, and the member in opening the debate from Eltham and Chislehurst laid out some of those well-founded concerns. The Hillsborough Law and the failure to deliver it so far has also been raised by many members across the House, and they're right to do so. It would extend the duty of candour to all public officials, and it was a manifesto commitment from this government. Madam Deputy Speaker, it's also a promise that has been repeated by the Prime Minister and several other ministers since. Despite repeated talk of an unwavering commitment, this vital reform has still not been delivered, and we don't know when it will be. So I would really welcome any update the Paymaster General could give when he's concluding the debate about any progress that we might expect and when we might expect it. With this scandal, as with too many others, the inability to deliver both timely compensation and complementary legislation extends people's fears of a culture of cover-up. We see in so many instances the breakdown of trust between the people we represent and our politics. So delivering this compensation at pace and delivering the Hillsborough Law would both be a statement of intent to change our political culture. It's one of the vital building blocks that can start to repair this House's fractured relationship with the public, an essential step to recover trust. That is more vital today than at any other point in my lifetime. Many members have spoken of their constituents who've been impacted by this scandal. My constituent, Catherine, from Marple Bridge, is one of so many who provided testimony to the Compensation Authority. Catherine is both a daughter handling the estate of her father, he was infected, and she is affected. Catherine's thorough, detailed testimony was calm, it was thoughtful, and it was delivered with a remarkable clarity. It was a testament to her strength of character. Last year's damning report on compensation showed that not enough lessons, had been learnt, and survivors such as Catherine continue to be left out in the cold. The impact, of course, extends to those who have lost family members to contaminated blood. People like Angus Lacey Stewart, who contacted my honourable friend, the member for Bicester and Woodstock. Angus's dad and granddad both died due to health conditions caused by infected blood. Angus lost his dad prematurely, but he also told my honourable friend how his dad's infection at the age of 14 changed his dad's life and robbed Angus of the relationship he might have wanted with his father, who suffered from poor mental and physical health. Angus understands there are many claims and supports the prioritisation of infected claimants, but he cannot understand why he's been told not to expect payment until 2030. Angus told my honourable friend that he feels let down and ignored by the government. He won't be alone. Liberal Democrats have been consistent in urging the government to end the record of failure from successive governments and finally answer the needs of victims. We, along with others, committed in our 2019 manifesto to act on the inquiry's recommendations, ensuring a just settlement for victims and their families. And we've voted in favour of legislation when it's been brought to this House. We encourage the government to be as effective and visible as possible in the way that they deliver the promised compensation scheme for the all too many victims. And after so many years of secrecy, of deceit and delay, the government must deliver on the start that they have made to ensure full transparency over the progress of the scheme and open, ongoing, effective communication with all those affected. I'll close my remarks, Madam Deputy Speaker, by paying tribute to the victims and their families, and particularly to those doughty campaigners who have worked for decades for the compensation and the justice they deserve.